Good evening. This is Real Voices, and we're about to interview
Tokeitha Wilson.
Wonderful, wonderful. We're so glad that you agreed to get interviewed. And this is the RV Talk Time Game Changers. And today we just wanted to understand, Ms. Wilson, who are you from a deeper perspective, not from a perspective of your resume and not even your bio, but who are you?
I am Tokeitha Wilson, the CEO and founder of Empowerment Station, a premier motivational speaking company.
So that's good. You gave us that you have your own company, and it's a wonderful thing. You have your own company, and you're doing some things that are a little different. But I want to know, beyond your company, who are you as a person? I mean, what makes you define who you are?
I am a mother, a single parent. I am a college graduate. I am a product of DC Public Schools. I am the first generation in my family to attend college and graduate from college. I am a Bennett Bell. I am the first in a lot of situations in my life. I'm a human being. I'm a woman. I'm a very proud Black woman.
Wow.
African American woman. Yes.
Outstanding. What are you passionate about at the end of the day? What when you wake up in the morning, what drives you?
It's very important for me to understand from a spiritual aspect first. So when I wake up in the morning, I always start my day with a prayer. I start my day at 5 a.m. with prayer. It's just my personal relationship in what I have established for my own being. So I start my day with prayer, and I am passionate about my spirituality and being intimate with my Lord and Savior. I am passionate about change and being positive. A lot of people, including myself, have experienced difficulty in life, whereas it can be overwhelming at times and really hard. So I am all about change and just embracing it and loving it. It's not the fact, it's not hard to understand at times where we have to move forward in life, but it's just a fact of the matter that it's something that we have to do. We just have to move forward. We have to accept change because we don't want to stay in the same place or we'll never grow.
What has changed in your life that have allowed you to understand that change is so important and relevant as we are to grow as individuals in this society together?
Not living in a box.
Tell me about the box.
So just networking, being open to, meet new people and embrace their culture and embrace their ways and be respectful at the same time. Don't be ignorant, to someone's belief system or someone's characteristics. What makes them unique, everyone is unique on this earth. And the ignorance is what drives that forcing us where we stay in our box where we don't want to change. A lot of times stepping outside of your box, if it means that you're going to say hello to the person walking down the street, or you're going to get to know your neighbor, or you're going to do a community initiative, all of those things bring out change and it brings unity at the same time. So it's very important for us to understand that our box is our own box. We have our own personal space, yes, but at times we have to learn to love our space and others' space as well.
So sometimes I know that where I become challenged is that you talk about the box, and some of the boxes that exist are not boxes I've created, and I have a choice of how I address those situations, or as you put it, the boxes. What are your suggestions, or how do you deal with that situation where life is what it is, but yet and still I have some possible control over how I interpret, how I do things? How do you deal with that situation?
You have to have self-control, first of all, and accept your and be accountable for yourself and your actions, your thoughts. You can't just say, okay, I'm not having a bad day, so everyone around me is not going to have a bad day. That's just not the best thing to do, because there are consequences, and you have to face and be responsible for your actions once you do act out. You can't just snap. And there have been tendencies where we have seen in the media where people have snapped, and even in our day-to-day, we can look in our family and see there have been people who have snapped, quote unquote. So we have to be responsible and accountable for our own actions. If that means that you have to take time out and say, you know what, I didn't have the best day today, but tomorrow's going to be better. I did not handle that situation correctly, so I know I can do better, and I can do better by maybe interacting more, or maybe going a different route, not going the same way, not doing the same thing that I used to do, changing my way of thinking, changing my actions, changing my thought process per se. It's a lot of things that we have to work on ourselves inwardly before we can, try to do things outwardly in our communities. Because a lot of times we see people want to do so many different things, and they're not as effective because they have to work on their self first.
We look at young people today, and I can say that I consider you a young person.
Yes,
And,
I am.
today, there's a negative connotation that comes with that title, being a young person.
Yes.
What I'm hearing from you, there's a choice as you accept that and your actions to follow that. What are your thoughts around, what do you impart in your fellow peers that says that, change is possible, and how do you get to that point?
A lot of times we're labeled as the generation of fast results, and we want we're like McDonald's and all the fast foods. We have to have it our way, like Burger King. It's just what we've been labeled as, this generation. We're accustomed to having everything our way and doing things the way we want to and want the results instantly. We have everything in regards to technology that gives us everything in a minute or a second, or the blink of an eye. So yes, we are accustomed to a faster pace. And no disrespect to our other previous generations or older generations or ancestors, it's just that this is the time in which we live in. So we do fight against, yes, the principles that we were brought up on, but at the same time, we are in a day and age where everything is moving at a faster pace. Now, the complexity comes in is, where do we say, okay, I know that I'm living in a day and age where the technology is really fast and I don't have to do certain things. That's just where your morals and your values kick in. You can choose to make that decision because inwardly, and what you've been raised upon tells you not to do those things. Don't go rob the guys at the liquor store. Don't smoke the new cigarettes that are out. Don't participate in this video because it's going to lead to repercussions in regards to someone being a minor in the video. There are so many different things that we're susceptible to compared to your generation or older generations, whereas you all had a smaller bracket where you didn't have to worry about a lot of the social determinants that we have to worry about. So that's the state of mind that we're in my generation. We're up against a lot more. The diseases are more prominent in our generation, in addition to the technology. The education is a big factor. You have students who are graduating out of college that are in thousands and thousands of dollars of debt. So, we have a lot more that we're up against. And yes, it is frustrating when the older generation say, no, you can do this, you can do that. And, our resources are limited. So we have to be creative, and innovative in what we do in trying to overcome the obstacles that we're faced with. But like any other generation in those generations that have come before us, we can win just like you all did. It doesn't limit us, we just have a different route that we must take.
Well, I'm really enjoying what you're sharing with our viewing audience because, this is the type of conversations that need to be heard in a way that it rings loud and clear, because we as a society, there's sometimes a disconnect between the young people and the older people, and it shouldn't be that way. But it's situations like this and conversations that allow us to bridge that understanding. But the first and I guess foremost thing is that we have to be open to bridge that conversation. So how do we get the young folks, the older folks to start bridging to the point where we're creating something better than what we have now?
I think that's a really, really important point that you make. A lot of us in my generation, I would say, we're open. We're open to information, being on social media. We're open to talking more, being louder. Whereas the older generations are more closed and everything is swept under the rug, quote unquote. So they're not always willing to say, okay, yes, I did those things in my past. Whereas my generation might make a video about it or put it on Instagram or, Facebook. So I think the biggest thing is communication. Communication is always the common denominator in most critical situations where there can be any type of damage, emotional control, physical hurt, harm, or danger, anything. It all boils down to communication. So we always have to say, okay, how can we communicate? How can we come together? And that's the point that you just made. So my recommendation to that is very simple. You all have to have, and I mean you all as the older generations, have a open mind to be willing to accept what the generation has to say that's younger than you all. A lot of times we get pushed off because the older generation feels that we don't know enough. You have to be open. Being open means we have to be respectful, and yes, we often get that connotation as well, like we're not mannerable, we're just rowdy and rambunctious, and that's not always the case. A lot of times we just want the attention that you all failed to give us.
So, Real Voices is concentrating on a couple of areas, and one of them that you hit on, well, two of them that you mainly hit on was, I'm saying, create a healthier environment. Mm-hmm. And the other one that you hit on was creating a different community. Mm-hmm. And so community is important, and I'm wondering, when I say the word community, what comes to mind for you?
Oh, it's very, very simple. Community is unity to me. Everyone who lives in your surrounding area is your community. That can include your pastor, that can include the store owner down the street, that can be the student at the next school, it can be the bus driver, the police officer. It could be the drug dealer that's in the community as well. All of those people can make up a community. Now, within that community, you're going to have activities. You're going to have homes. You're going to have apartment buildings. You're going to have land where people can utilize. So the community can be a diverse mixture of people, places, or things, all coming together. But I say that in communities right now, that we often see, or what I have a tendency to see, and I do have the background where I'm exposed to the rural areas and the urban areas. A lot of times the sports is very different in the community, whereas one community may only focus on football when there are other sports that we can use and the kids can participate in. Versus other communities, they may have lacrosse, they may have ice skating. And it's not to say that, everybody can do the same thing. Sure, they can, but the resources have a tendency to be different in some of the communities, whereas you may have swimming pools, you may have ice skating rings, and then you go east of the river or you go to other areas in Washington, D.C. or in Maryland, I'm going to say PG County as well. It's just not there. And there a lot of people say, oh no, we want to help, we want to do this, we want to do that. But you can't have a basketball court, you can't have a football team, and you don't have a rec center. You don't have the things that kids like to do, but you also don't have a lacrosse team. You also don't have a tennis court. You don't have a racquetball court. You don't have some of the basic necessities that other communities have that make themselves more diverse and make their families come together. Community centers, you just don't have certain things, and it's missing. It's a big gap there.
So why do you think that there's a missing gap, as you just quoted? Why do you think there's a missing gap of different diverse type activities and programs that allow our young people to be more exposed, or communities to be more exposed, to be honest with you?
There's always government funding issues. We never have enough money to do the basic necessities. We don't have enough money. And if we did, and who's to say that there was a time that maybe there could have been a lot of community centers and a lot of activities. But somewhere along the line it got cut, and it was never reestablished.
So what makes our communities, or should I say communities in a urban city, any different than a community in what you're saying that has La Crosse? I mean, you know, they could get funds cut just as well, but they still have those services. So I'm just trying to figure out, when we look at the urban community and we look at other communities that have these other amenities that you just mentioned, what makes it so different? I mean, why is it a difference? Or do you have any idea about that?
I do know why.
Okay, let's share it.
They have community action teams. They have networks. The people come together. When it's on the chopping block, they show up. They'll go to the state. They'll go to the mayor's office. They'll show up everywhere their politicians are to let them know, do not cut this program. Do not cut this activity. And that's how it gets saved.
So why doesn't it happen in some of the urban communities?
It has, but it hasn't at the same time. So you have some programs that are still in existence in the urban communities, but a lot of times it's just not thriving. It could be there, but the resources could be so limited that hours could be cut, the staff could be cut. You know, so why do you even have it if you're just doing a little bit? What
are some of the things you would like to give to this viewing and listening audience that says that adds value to our society as a whole?
I always think that our generation is often misunderstood. You know, we all are labeled. You know, we're labeled because, like I said earlier, we always seem to be too sexy or too rambunctious or too over the top. You know, it's no different than your generation and leaders that came before us, like Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. You know, in order for you to make the next generation, this generation has to be vocal and it has to produce leaders, whereas no one is going to be the same. You know, you can achieve the same or work towards the same outcome, but each leader is made differently. You know, you don't have the same two icons that are created in a generation. There will never be two Michael Jacksons. There will never be two Patti LaBelles. You know, we have Beyonce in our generation. You know, so a lot of people feel that, oh, wow, you know, you all are just so different. But we're not. You know, if you take that facade off and say they're just like us, they're just created in a new way, you know, that's exactly who we are. We're the next generation that will continue to fight for exactly what we believe in. You know, we're the next generation that will show up in numbers to vote. We're the next generation that will stop, you know, sitting behind the computer and create the next computer or create the next gaming system. We're that generation. So, and we're that same generation that has to take care of those who came before us. So yes, we have to sit in the nursing homes. We will be the staff and executive directors of the nursing homes. We will be the lawmakers. We will be those people who are in positions that will be able to say yay and nay. I'm Tokeitha Wilson, CEO and founder of Empowerment Station, and I'm a game changer.
Real voices in every community across America. The voice of the voiceless. Join our action-oriented platform and be part of the solution. For more information, call 1-855-395-1601. That number again is 1-855-395-1601. Visit our website at realvoicesusa.org or look us up on Facebook. We want to hear from you. Real voices in every community across America.